always saw a monster. What if he's the real hero? 1,000 years, in darkness, scattered and never broke. Every powerful sorcerer against him. Everyone lost. They didn't kill him, they scattered him, because death was impossible. Hidden in 20 corners of the world, they thought he'd vanish. They were wrong. One boy swallowed the first finger, thought he was saving a friend. He woke the king. Sukuna knew instantly, not a prison, just a temporary vessel. Every takeover was an escape, it was a test. He was studying the world. Every strike, every word, part of a plan 1,000 years old. The ancients saw a monster, in reality, a being that refused to be weak. One technique, an army of sorcerers ceased to exist. He's simply the strongest. No rage, no joy, just boredom. No one can give him a real fight. Yet. Then he sensed Gojo, the only one who didn't bore him the moment he appeared. Two absolutes, too great for one era. This clash is why he allowed himself to be woken. Red against blue, curse against infinity, the entire world caught between them. Itadori trained thinking he fought Sukuna. Sukuna wanted the vessel stronger. Friendship, bonds, Sukuna never had them. He watched like a cold scientist. Fushiguro Megumi. Not enemy, not ally, a key, 10 shadows, the only technique that summons Mahoraga. He had been waiting for this. Sukuna isn't the villain, he's the only honest character in this story. Sorcerers made plans. All this time, Sukuna heard every word and simply waited. Shibuya. That night, Sukuna broke free, and the world saw true power, no remorse. In his system, the weak don't demand mercy from the strong. Nanami Kento, a sorcerer who didn't back down, even knowing death waited ahead. In that moment, Sukuna felt something like respect, not an enemy, for dignity. Nanami died with dignity. Even Sukuna acknowledged it, with silence. After Shibuya, the sorcerers knew, no plan. Only one person could change things, Gojo Satoru, the only one who made the game interesting. Sukuna was waiting for him. Finally free, truly free. 1,000 years of waiting behind him. Not a villain's victory, the liberation of a being denied existence for 1,000 years. He watched Megumi since childhood. His entire journey was someone else's script. Mahoraga, the unconquerable shadow deity. This is exactly why Sukuna chose Megumi. Sukuna isn't just a fighter, a genius, adapts to anything mid-battle. He defeated the undefeatable, destroyed a shadow god with its own power, not villainy, greatness. No one applauded, he simply stood, alone, as always. Kenjaku thought he was in control. In reality, he too was just a piece. Only Sukuna knew. Was he always like this? Or once, did he simply look at the sky and want more? Itadori and Sukuna aren't opposites, two versions of the same choice. Before the finale, Sukuna looked at him as someone who had finally grown enough. Not good against evil, two people each convinced they're the main character. Sorcerers gathered everyone. One last attempt. They knew they'd lose. They came anyway. They attacked together. Everything against one being. Still not enough. Dust settled. He stood. His power is complete indifference to pain. He never rushed. Never. Patience is his most terrifying weapon. One cleave, half the army gone. Even at half strength, more than enough. Every sorcerer who faced Sukuna felt not only fear, there was also awe. Could have destroyed everything. Didn't. Not kindness, the time simply hadn't come. Megumi's body, not possession, fulfillment of a contract he unknowingly signed. 1,000-year plan, one single moment. The entire story was always Sukuna's. Ahead, Gojo Satoru. The battle awaited for 1,000 years. Everything led here. Gojo stepped forward. Even his allies stepped back. True fear came from the protector. They looked at each other. No words. Both knew this fight changes everything. Gojo struck first. Infinity. Unbeatable for 30 years. Sukuna was waiting for that very strike. Dodged by a centimeter. Not barely. He wanted to feel it, study it, cleave and dismantle. Simultaneously. A cross of cursed energy, never seen before. Unlimited void. Gojo opened his mind to all existence and turned it into a weapon. Most would break in a second. Sukuna stood. 1,000 years of darkness. The best preparation. Malevolent shrine. Not a dome, open space, no walls, a challenge to the entire world. reality. Two domains collided. Space tore apart. The sorcerer saw the end of the world or its beginning. Both stood, both wounded. Sukuna finally felt what he'd waited 1,000 years for, a living battle. Worthy opponents in 1,000 years, few. Every such fight was a gift to him. Sukuna's philosophy is simple, not 100 techniques, one but absolute. Gojo fell, for the first time, and felt not defeat, but release. Someone finally could. No celebration, no shout. Defeating Gojo, just a page turned. After the greatest victory, only one feeling, boredom again. No one worthy again. Itadori saw the destruction, grasped the scale. This changed him more than any training. A friend in a monster wearing a friend's face. Saving Megumi means defeating Sukuna. There were simple days. That's what Itadori fought for, something Sukuna never understood. Final battle. Not good against evil. One wanted to live. One wanted all of this to be worthy. At the very end, Sukuna looked at Itadori and for the first time saw not a vessel, an opponent. Itadori struck fast and hard. Every blow carried grief, not just strength. That made him dangerous. Sukuna blocked effortlessly, deliberately prolonged the fight. For the first time, not bored. Itadori fell again and again. Every time he rose, Sukuna became just a little less indifferent. But he got up every time. Not heroism, simply the only thing he has against absolute power. In the darkness, grandfather's words, die surrounded by people. The only thing keeping him going. He stood one last time. Even Sukuna, without empathy, felt something close to respect. Running towards each other. Two people, two paths, two answers. What does it mean to be strong? An explosion so powerful sorcerers fell to their knees from afar. The peak of Jujutsu Kaisen. Dust settled. He stood, on last breath. This is what Sukuna wanted, a moment that made him try. At the end, Sukuna felt something without a name. Not respect, not interest, something more. What if once he was just a person, before power, before 1,000 years? That choice cost everything. Alone. As always, loneliness isn't his curse, his choice, all that's left for the strongest. Kenjaku thought he was in control. In reality, he too was just a piece. Only Sukuna knew. Cities, lives, plans, just backdrop. The world of Jujutsu Kaisen was always his story. Sometimes, between millennia, he simply looked at the sky, just a being, no titles. Killing Sukuna means killing part of himself, the part that also refused to give up. Final strike. It carried every lost friend, every word from his grandfather. Every time he rose, Sukuna was thrown back, for the first time, not because it hurt, because it surprised. That matters more. He stood, looked, said nothing. That silence was the only acknowledgement Sukuna ever gave anyone. 2. In smoke, at the end, even the loneliest being found someone worthy of standing across from him. Something changed, not in strength, in intention. Itadori struck to get his friend back. Sukuna felt that. He stopped. Inside Megumi's body, something resisted. Megumi was still there. Megumi didn't disappear. He waited in darkness, just like Sukuna once waited. He looked at someone else's hands. For the first time, no thoughts of power. He simply let go. The strike landed. Itadori was crying as he hit. That's the difference. He never wanted this. He fell and didn't resist. Not defeat. A choice. The first free choice in 1,000 years. Tattoos faded. Beneath, Megumi, alive. In leaving, Sukuna did the only kind thing in his life. Dying, he finally saw himself. Not a monster, not a king. A being alone for far too long. 1,000 years in 1 second. He remembered everything, regretted nothing. Everything was as intended. He faded slowly, not an explosion, an exhale. Itadori won, and felt no victory. No one celebrated at the end. Megumi opened his eyes. Sky. Itadori beside him. Strange silence where something had been. The world survived. Dawn came. Sukuna never wanted to destroy, just needed to prove he could. After everything, Itadori thought not of victory, of what Sukuna could have been in a different world. Somewhere inside they talked, not as enemies, as too similar to ever admit it. No one offered him another way. He chose the only one he knew, be the strongest at any cost. Cursed energy never disappears. It dissolves into the world. Sukuna is still here, everywhere. The hero isn't the one who won, the one who carried everything and remained himself.
At the very end, he smiled. For the first time in 1,000 years, everything was exactly right. The villain is simply the hero of a story no one ever told.